Europe has held. Beyond people's expectations, the Europeans have survived. However, today, Korea battles back. Two champions, two previous champions, look to take to the field and claim their rightful spot in the round of 16. This is the World Championship Series Europe Premier League. My name is James Carroll, and as always, I'm alongside our resident expert, Sean Clark.
We are at the halfway point in this season already. We've only seen two Korean players make it to the round of 16 so far. Tonight, though, is a very different day. We have StarDust and First, who are looking to change things up and drop the anchor on the European players to make sure that they are in the spotlight this evening.
All right, let's talk about today's group, Group E, as we have it. As we have a person for me who is an absolute wrecking ball of a Protoss here in the WCS. It's StarDust.
StarDust makes his third consecutive appearance within the World Championship Series within the Premier League. He's one of our best. He holds the most dominant record. He looks unstoppable at points. Both previous seasons, though, he's finished top 8. That's not quite what he wants, and I know as a fact he wants more and higher results.
Then we have our two Protoss players, one who is on the way out, but then we have another one who is definitely on the way in. It's Baby Knight and First.
Yeah, this indeed has been a sad week for the European scene, with Baby Knight announcing his retirement from StarCraft 2 just a couple of days ago. A win today could extend his career, as he's promised to finish this season no matter what, but a loss for him today would mean a loss of a great player. But with a loss of a great player, we also gain another player coming into today's round of 32 group. We have First, who makes his debut here. He is here to rise and conquer after his switch from Korea into the European region. He currently resides with the reigning champion, MC. Expect big things from First this season.
And finally in Group E, we have a player who is truly in limbo right now. It's FireCake.
Yeah, FireCake is again back in Premier League for his third attempt. He doesn't quite seem to be able to compete with the Premier League players that we have season in, season out. He's struggling, and he is without a single map win. Not just a best of 3, a single map win. Hasn't won a single game in Premier League to date. He's going to put up a fight tonight in hope for his first ever round of 16 placement.
Yeah, it's a real mixed bag of players here in Group E, that's for sure. But for now, let's look at how today's matches are going to line up.
All right, 5 best of 3s coming your way like every other day. We'll be kicking things off with StarDust versus FireCake, David versus Goliath, followed by First and Baby Knight. After those games, we're of course jumping over to the winners match to decide who will be in first place within Group E. And then 3 players drop down to the pit in the lower bracket to fight out for second place advancement.
All right, well, it's time for game number 1 of the day here. In Group E, it's going to be StarDust, who looks to keep FireCake pinned down here in the round of 32.
Yeah, this is going to be such a difficult start for the European players, for Europe. StarDust has an insane record, the best that we have within the WCS. 52 wins and 12 losses, already ranked 10th in the world. A fantastic start for the 2014 campaign for StarDust. He's dangerous and he's deadly at all times throughout any game. FireCake has his work cut out if he wants to be able to topple this kind of player. FireCake must be watching over his shoulders at all times throughout this game, scouting, understanding, and never underestimating what StarDust is capable of, or the game will end before it even begins.
Let's take a little bit more of a focused look at these guys, especially starting with someone who is crazy, crazy good right now. On an absolute tear, such dominance, it's StarDust.
The stats tell the entire story of StarDust within WCS. Against Terran, 14-2. Against Zerg, 20-3. 20 wins and 3 losses. The 3 times he has lost, Vortex, all right? Life. And then, of course, Jaedong throughout his WCS. That is incredible.
Yeah.
He was late to joining the party last year with his WCS Premier League, so he didn't quite make it to the Global Finals. But this year, I would be gobsmacked if he wasn't at the Global Finals at the end of this year. He holds the best record that we have within WCS. He is one of the best. But tonight, it is no secret, he will play from Korea. We've seen victims to that already. Will he be able to escape, or will he fall today?
And then our second player of our first match, we have a guy who's made quite the name for himself as of late. It's FireCake.
Another French representative. We already have one through to the round of 16 in Todd. We could have a second today with a potential third. Records could be broken here for France within the WCS, but this is going to be tough. This is going to be tough. Not only is FireCake the underdog in this series, he has to go up against StarDust to kick things off. A player who has 20 wins and 3 losses. This is going to be the hardest thing that FireCake's had to do. But one thing is for certain, like we saw Hearthstone, FireCake has only had to train versus one race.
Yeah.
All he has to do today is beat a couple of Protoss players and he's seen himself into the round of 16. An underdog story, but one that we've seen come true before.
All right, so we're going to be getting into this first series in just a little bit. Now, from StarDust's point of view here, going into a match against a guy like FireCake, what is StarDust really looking to do here?
So StarDust will enter this series looking to end the game before it can begin. That's his biggest strength, because I think fighting against the Swarm Host style, which we will see out of FireCake, is going to be harder the longer the game gets, especially if StarDust is playing from Korea. If he can hide his strategy away from FireCake, it doesn't matter if FireCake is playing from Europe or not. For example, if there are Dark Templar on the field and there is no detection, the game is over. These type of moves will be game-ending, and it will just destroy FireCake before he's comfortable.
Yeah. And likewise, FireCake, obviously, we know the kind of style that he brings to the table, and I think he tweeted you just before saying that he does have a particular unit he is quite fond of.
Yes, it is going to be the Swarm Host. That is his playstyle, so he'll be approaching this group today against every single Protoss player that he'll play against. Must defend and not die within the first 10 to 15 minutes of the game, and from that point on, he's going to be in good position. Breaking a Swarm Host player who is very well diverse in that style is going to be very hard to do. Swarm Hosts, static defense, Vipers, Corruptors, maybe even Broodlords thrown into the mix. It's not going to be easy. The player that will have the best chance against that, I think, today is going to be first. And StarDust, well, I think he has to end it as soon as possible.
All right. Well, countdown is finished for game number 1 in this series, guys. We're going to be getting into it very, very soon. So this is series number 1 of the day here in Group E. Again, as always, 2 players will advance on to the round of 16. We've gone past that halfway point, as you mentioned before, and now we get to find out another 2. It's going to be good.
To start the day, it is the player who is meant to be going through in first place and the player who is meant to be finishing in last place in this group. But throughout all the WCS, not just this season, sometimes that is flipped upside down.
We've seen a lot of upsets so far here, even in this season itself. And again, Korea hasn't been doing so well as of late. Let's see if StarDust can start that road of Korea, gathering a little bit more momentum in WCS Europe. Let's jump right on into it as we have Overgrowth, map number 1. Spawning down to the bottom left-hand corner are red Protoss, representing My Insanity. It's StarDust. And up to the top right-hand corner, we have our blue Zerg, representing Punchline ESC. It is FireCake.
All right, it is time for Korea to really put the fight back to the Europeans. On paper, StarDust first place, FireCake second. Sorry, FireCake first.
Yes.
StarDust first, second. That's the way it's meant to be on paper. I got a little bit confused there with
tongue twister.
With first. Yes, I had to take that very slowly. That's the way this group is meant to play out. Will that be the case, though, today? We have Baby Knight, who's in for his last hurrah, and, of course, FireCake, who is capable of, simply putting, pissing everyone off today, Claris.
Yeah, I think so.
Let's just put it bluntly there.
He is going to be the guy that is looking to draw these games out as long as possible, really exhaust his opponents, and try and find a way through there. That is the mantra of FireCake, and StarDust's already got his probe rallied out here for a Forge by the looks of things.
Yeah, he could be kicking things off with a little bit of a cannon rush here. This has become quite common within Korea recently, within the Pro League and GSL. Not so much the European Protoss players, but definitely Korean. And what this is, especially because StarDust is living in Korea, it makes a little bit of a sense for him to open up with a build like this, is a lot of Zerg players are going for Hatchery first recently. But if they don't, then you can fake a cannon rush and also just grab a Nexus pretty fast. And that will force the Zerg player to pull off drones, which will equalize the fact that he spent 150 minerals in the Forge in the first place. That's the kind of goal with this. It is a little bit difficult to accomplish a cannon rush when a spawning pool is already down.
Yep, this probe's on rally now just to deny the hatchery. But for now, at least, StarDust does know that it is the spawning pool first. Anything else from this point on with this drone down here at this time would be strange.
But, I mean, there was no fake of a cannon rush here. There was no drones pulled down, and the Nexus is late. This could have been just the pylon down at the front door into harass without the forge, and then the Nexus down faster. FireCake started this rather well. He's got a nice little boost, but a boost nonetheless.
StarDust getting in here, spotting out that there's just the spawning pull down, no weird gas timing at all, and he's going to complete his wall off at the front and be stable from there on.
And FireCake with the Overlord over the wall says, cool, the forge was down pretty fast in this game. The Nexus is quite late. Awesome. I didn't really do anything, and you're already a little bit behind to where you should have been usually.
Not too bad. StarDust now going to try and keep alive that probe up to the top left-hand corner so you can use it later on for alternate scouting means, and just sit around near the gold. So that, well, it depends entirely on how diligent FireCake is with his scouting to spot that.
Yeah, I mean, FireCake just simply has to drone up for the first 6 minutes of the game. Completely drone up and queen up for the first 6 minutes, maybe, oh, probably more. He'll take his gases around 6 minutes usually, unless he plays greedy. But until that point, for a good 2 minutes flat here, all he has to do is think about that and then start to figure out what StarDust is up to. Stargate, robotics facility, +1 attack starting. These type of things he will have to look for. But of course, while doing all that and while droning up for the next 2 minutes, it's nice to find that Zergling. Let's just nice to find that probe. Sorry.
Yep. And it is going to head on into the third. Spot that and get straight back on out because that hatchery is building. This probe was not spotted down to the left. So Zergling was looking for it and is on patrol around this base, but unfortunately it was in exactly the wrong location at the wrong time.
And that's that could be dangerous. That could be the point of where StarDust launches an early attack if he decides to commit to it. He's going for a Stalker, actually. Look at this, getting a Stalker out.
Ooh.
Stalker first here. He's going to be able to push away any Overlords that try to poke in here. And with a Mothership Core, if he wants to get one soon, could also really help out that forward pylon.
That's the Twilight Council behind this as
Makes
well.
sense, then, doesn't it? Stalker to push away Overlords, Twilight Council to come in. We could be looking at either a Blink play. I think Blink play is more likely here. And then there is the off chance of Dark Templar. But I'm thinking Blink play. It's something which StarDust has liked to use before.
The Stalker's going to push away this Zergling. It might trigger alarm bells here for FireCake, realizing that that is there. But he spots the probe up to the top left-hand corner. That's a really good scout here by FireCake, who, again, was very diligent with this Zergling. It was rallied around everywhere. So really good start by FireCake.
It's going to be Dark Templar. He's just moved his probe down. It's not going to be Blink. It's going to be DTs.
Right.
So as mentioned in the intro of the show, stuff like these is almost an instant win if not dealt with properly. There's a Roach Warren coming in and a couple of Overlords being built because he's seen a probe being hid. There was already a sign of a probe being hid and also a Stalker out early to push away scouting information. FireCake is like, what are you hiding? So he's getting defensive tools up, which is Zergling speed, a couple of Zerglings now to push back any probes and pylons, and the Roach Warren down. The one thing he does not have is detection. Detection is nowhere to be found. If DTs are in this game, this can end fast.
Yeah, and with his layer getting later and later, he's got to somehow... It's like the all-rounder Spore Crawlers. It's like, right, well, I guess I'm going to try and need those if I haven't spotted a Robo anytime soon.
Well, the pylon is going up, and Gateways are soon to finish here.
This could just...
That has to be found. If he finds it... Okay, Spore Crawlers are coming in.
The all-purpose Spore Crawlers. There we go.
All-purpose Spore Crawlers, Dark Templar, Stargate, anything. Great setup here. This is much better for him. And he finds the probe and pylon before the Dark Templar and Warp Gate is ready. If he can kill that pylon, DTs would have to be more from the other side of the map. Behind this, StarDust is going to throw down an expansion here, so all hope is not lost for the Korean.
Really
but not the best start for him.
Yeah, I mean, good start for FireCake in the end. He doesn't spot that expansion down to the bottom, so doesn't quite know about that. But the two Dark Templars are going to be moving out, and again, those Spore Crawlers should be able to deal with that.
Yeah, it depends on where he has units, though.
True.
I mean, he could target down the Spore Crawlers if he was to go 2 Dark Templar at 1 Spore Crawler, and I don't think he's seen the DTs yet. He's found the Nexus. These DTs are just walking right in. If there's nothing at home...
Ooh, and Zerglings grab a probe there before the cannons even start. So with more Zerglings on the way, he could try and zone out.
And a Dark Templar to defend his third base. This could be really big for him, depending on how this goes with the DT aggression. All
right, one's trying to work away at Queen. Second one tries to move in as well. But the Zerglings are going to work on the Nexus. He probably will get that before he can actually kill off all of those Zerglings. It's going to be close.
Yeah, DT is one-hitting every single Zergling there. It's going to be close. I think he may keep the Nexus and do damage everywhere.
Yeah, he's doing all right. He's got 4 worker kills so far. The Spore Crawler did push that away in the natural. The one in the main is still a little bit out of range, but saves his third base. That's good. There's more Zerglings flooding down there, though.
Yeah, he can warp in another DT. He has money to do that if he was to get close. He also has units not far away. If StarDust keeps his third alive, he's in really good shape.
Especially with how much lava has been committed to this.
I don't think he's going to get it, though. There isn't enough sentry energy to force field all the way around either.
Yeah. Oh, well. That's a nice pickup there for FireCake. It was close. 4 Zerglings did the job in the end.
But we know what StarDust likes to do. He says, you know, I don't mind if you kill my 400 mineral structure. I can still attack you with what units I have left over. And he is moving across the map here. Has +2 attack. Has an Archon against a couple of Zerglings in there, too. Roaches are being made here.
And there is the infestation pit. So this is basically what StarDust needs to do. Do a lot of damage before that really gets into effect. Otherwise, it's going to be scary.
The drone count is nice. Spine crawlers are coming down here because what FireCake's going to do is force another cancel and then try to force StarDust to fight into a defended area.
Yeah, he's already pushing through onto this third base. There's spine crawlers going up, but they're not going to be done in time, so the warp-ins are going to be starting very, very soon here for StarDust. FireCake, though, meanwhile, has to bring these Zerglings back, rendezvous with those roaches, and set up defensively.
I think FireCake's doing okay, though. He's playing a good game so far. He is doing okay. He's got 9 additional roaches, still 3 spines on the way. He doesn't have many upgrades, and there will be +2 and Blink Stalkers soon, but with spine crawlers around, it's going to be close. He just needs to hold on, and he's doing good.
Circling's going for the counter again. He just wants to deny the third over and over and over. That's quite a few roaches if he engages correctly, but there's so many force fields on these sentries that can cut those off if they push forwards.
And roach speed not done yet, so harder to even fight in.
And he does cut them off nicely there. That one Archon at the front doing a lot of damage. Did get a cancel on the third base behind all of this, remember, down to the bottom right hand. So StarDust still needs to do quite a bit over here.
Still a lot of roaches out, though, and Lings are coming back to help out. Can clean up the pylons, can get into the fight.
Especially with no force fields left, those Stalkers are going to have a really, really difficult time dealing with this. The Zerglings now working on that pylon, and then there's only this one reinforcing at the front.
Yeah, FireCake's got a lot of roaches still on the way. He's got great production. He's at a high supply count. +2 is going to finish now, though.
Here come the Zerglings from the back. There's these roaches being slowed down quite a bit. StarDust, despite battling from Korea, is on top of his Blink micro. Wow, keeps going through.
And look at this. That's a lot of Stalkers there, Kalaris. FireCake needs to stop this before the Stalker count gets too high. He may need to pull drones into this.
Needs to really blink back these. Needs to keep these Stalkers alive as best as he can do. As the roaches, they don't have any upgrades. +1's on the way. Drones come off the line for FireCake, realizing he might be in a bit of trouble. If he can hold on, he knows that his opponent's trying to establish a third down to the left.
There may be too many Stalkers now.
Yeah. It's just kind of hit that critical mass, and he's still controlling really well, keeping some of these alive. More reinforcing roaches, try and help out. If the pylon dies off, that will shut all this down, but StarDust is doing quite a bit of damage.
He is doing quite a bit of damage here. The Stalker count is lowering again, but the +2 attack doing so much, and StarDust's micro is really helpful here.
Yeah.
Really helpful for this fight, and he pushes his back once again, and the supplies getting pretty close, which is very good for StarDust.
Pylon not dying means the reinforcements just keep coming on in, and FireCake has no way to be able to deal with this. He's lost a lot of drones, he's lost a lot of his income. He's trying to replenish with Zerglings and roaches, but even if this normalized out, the third would be done behind this for StarDust.
StarDust, just an absolutely killer when it comes to playing against Zerg players, and despite FireCake probably feeling quite comfortable for the majority of this game, StarDust still smashes through. And here we have the changelings being cleared up, but StarDust is going to go in again soon. FireCake's lost the queen on that third. He's lost a lot of drones. StarDust even has a third about to finish up to now.
Yeah, this is why you very rarely actually beat this guy in PvZ, because even when he was trying to establish the third base, even when he was at a little bit of a deficit, because Dark Templars didn't do a huge amount, the Blink follow-up is very, very strong, and he can just continue on. A Dark Templar being mixed in here. There are 2 Overseers on the high ground, though, that were not visible. Now he does spot them, so that Dark Templar is not going to do a huge amount.
I think FireCake may be running out of steam here.
Yeah. This 19 Stalkers against 15 Roaches really does say it all, with +2 weapons and Blink against only +1 weapons on this. And the Blink control just continues here from StarDust. Even if they're not actually taking the initial volley, just blink them back anyway and keep them retained. This is great control by him.
Great control by him, and he's clearing up the last of these drones on that third base, so even less of an income here for FireCake. An aggressive blink forward for StarDust, and he will pick up game number 1.
Good stuff by our Protoss in that game number 1. And FireCake right now needs to kind of claw it back a little bit and find an alternate plan, because even though StarDust's initial aggression didn't work, the secondary follow-up works out. He has a third base going down behind that.
Yeah.
StarDust just looking as StarDust normally does.
Yeah, maybe FireCake threw a few too many units away on trying to stop the third base, when if he'd had units together initially with the big second wave, potentially. But we have to look at, once again, StarDust just, despite losing thirds, as I think Rhett did say in a WCS once, or even before that, saying, you know, kill the third, back on 2 bases, ready to go, right, Protoss?
Does well. StarDust showing his dominance in this matchup at least. And now we go on to Frost for map number 2. A better map for FireCake, I would say, in the end. But
yes, but not as good for Swarmhost play as
Yeah.
the last one was. That was a better Swarmhost map. But as mentioned, StarDust is going to look to try and finish this series and finish the maps as fast as possible. So I wouldn't be surprised to see another tricky build up StarDust's sleeve to try and finish this one.
yeah, FireCake just kind of, as you said at the very, very beginning of the show, just keep on top of your scouting, keep your defenses up and strong. If you can get a little bit further than that mid game, then you know, maybe we'll see FireCake prevail. And he is still looking for that first map in Premier.
Yeah, still without it. So that's 5 complete map losses now, if that's right. No, wait, 2, no, 9.
Yes, 9.
9 map losses now in a row within the Premier League. So it's quite a lot without a single map win. Can he get one today, though? This is probably his best opportunity to do so. He's playing well, better than ever. And even in last season when we saw him play against MVP, he was looking not terrible. He was playing decent. He played actually rather well against MVP. But unfortunately, he got shut down before he could really show what he wanted to. And maybe that will happen again today.
All right, well, countdown's begun, as you can hear in the background, for game number 2, as FireCake looks to try and claw his way back into this series, because right now StarDust is dead set on course for that winner's match, as he is looking to get to. Anything other than a first place for StarDust, for him, would be quite surprising, I would say.
And with a 1 more map win for StarDust, he would extend his lead 21 wins to 3 within the WCS. So incredibly awesome stats from StarDust, and I'm sure he just wants to keep on improving them.
All right, well, cross spawns here now, as we have spawning down to the bottom left-hand corner our blue Zerg representing Punchline ESC. It is FireCake. And up to the top right, we have our red Protoss representing My Insanity. It's StarDust.
All right, so very difficult to read into what StarDust could potentially have set up for this one. He could try a cannon rush again, or at least an attempt of an early cannon rush, but apart from that, it's very difficult to call. It can be a multiple set of different builds, whether it be Oracle third base, fast third base, 1 base, 2 base all in, sorry. But FireCake, I mean, he's the one that really has to figure this out as soon as possible and then start to be able to deal with it, because that's his best opportunity to advance through by not losing fast.
And with this probe moving out at this particular time, you know, there is still that opportunity for a cannon rush, as on a 4-player map, got to send out that first probe quickly to then send out a second one if you're not lucky with that first probe. So maybe he will, but or alternatively, he could just be looking to really find his opponent early, but he's already rallied down for the Forge.
FireCake shouldn't let this rumble him in terms of that loss in the previous one. He's actually taken a gas here, which is very surprising.
Yeah.
Very surprising. So that's like a 14-14 coming out from him. So that's 14 gas, 14 spawn and pull. Very fast Zergling speed coming in. Could even go for a Baneling bust off the back of it as well. So this is a little bit unusual, but something that FireCake has planned here, more so than what StarDust had, who is going for that early Forge again and double probe, and he's going to go in and see this.
Yeah.
And he's going to be starting to, you know, worry himself a little bit about the aggression potential that FireCake has. I mean, he sees it and is like, what? You're joking. What is this? Why are you doing this? And he immediately sends his probe back, the one at the north, and you know, he'll be looking. I think you can squeeze the Nexus out then the cannon still. I mean, it's still like a 14 spawning pool. The gas was first here. It's just the threat of what comes next.
Yeah, exactly.
What is this?
It being cross spawns and then pulling straight off gas as well. It's just speedlings.
He goes in and sees it and he's like, oh, that's weird.
Yeah.
Well, with speedlings so early on here, it's a very safe old build. Also has potential to be aggressive, of course, whether he was to stay in gas or not. But what we could be looking at from FireCake here is to completely control the early to mid game. Completely.
Yeah.
Against no matter what StarDust did. With such an investment in speed and Zerglings already, there should never be a probe hidden on the field. There should never, ever be a pylon getting up somewhere. And there should never be a Zealot and Stalker ever moving across the map to assist a probe.
I'm very surprised he's actually
He's still
walled off
building
completely.
links.
Wow.
He's still building links.
This is...
He's going to attempt to break the wall.
It's going to be very difficult considering it's a full wall right now. All right.
He's going to attempt to break the wall. Well,
There's a drone on the way.
So it's a complete wall.
10 lings to try and break that.
Yeah, that's not enough, I don't think.
And that's a big lava investment early on.
This is really big, and of course he doesn't exactly know where his opponent spawned either.
Yeah, he's just come up to the left and he's like, oh, no, not here. Okay, well, that slows me down even further now.
Yeah, it's a complete wall, and that probe's still hidden, which shouldn't be the fact. Shouldn't be in there when you've got Zergling speed like this. With a complete wall here, StarDust has taken no risks.
Mm-hmm.
And even with 10 links, it won't work.
Yeah, he's so well fortified.
And then even if a pylon starts to get beaten up, then he can just extend the wall. Easy peasy.
And there you go. He just has to retreat on back and use these lings to control things alone. I wonder if that probe just got...
I think it wasn't spotted, that probe.
That Overlord was on course to actually spot that probe, but...
Yeah, not the best start here for FireCake. It's took a massive hit to his economy in this setup. If you look at the drone count, 21 to 27. Yeah. Big disadvantage for FireCake. Not sure what he was expecting there. Maybe a gateway opening, maybe a Nexus first, maybe an uncompleted wall. Whatever it was, he risked, gambled, and it's hurt him.
At least he caught the probe down to the south. That's a nice pickup, but the probe even spots the progression that there is no third down yet, so he's got to be feeling happy as StarDust.
And he saw the drone there too, so he knows that the third is on its way, so it's not like a 2-base rush up in tech or something, that there should be a third base down. Not the best setup here. StarDust will probably just go straight for a Phoenix here. He could use Oracle. It does get the same job done as a Phoenix, which is scouting, but the number one thing here is scouting and just trying to figure out what the hell this guy's doing. Because StarDust should be confident. He should be more than confident, to be honest. He just needs to make sure that he knows what's going on.
Zergling's poking around at the front, but realistically all they accomplished was a little bit of damage onto themselves. Not too much there. And StarDust for now, I mean, he's playing sailing once again. I don't see how FireCake's going to really react to
Sentry
this.
popped on the wrong side.
Oh, did he?
That's a slight mistake, but he can always kill one of his own pylons soon and get back in. But yeah, he got a Sentry in case he was going to be attacked, and the Phoenix probably just to go and start having a look at what's going on and try to figure out what the hell this is. But it is quite normal. It is a normal follow-up from FireCake, who's gone into a standard game, but unfortunately for him, with a deficit than compared to normal.
At least he forces out a force field for one ling. That's not too bad at all, but he does know Phoenix are on the way. So he's going to have to reinforce against that, as we'll have the Roach Farm going down now, and there's the Spore Crawlers being added on in addition, just to help out against those Phoenix.
That's right. And he's going to allow his Sentry to get back in now too. He's killing the wall.
Yay.
So, Robotics Facility. Wow, I haven't seen this build in a while. 2 Phoenix, or 3 Phoenix, straight into a Robo. And then he's most likely... Well, there's a couple of ways you can play with this. I'm not going to stab in the dark. He could either go for an Immortal follow-up from this after Phoenix Harassment, could go all the way up to Robotics Bay rather fast and do like a Phoenix Colossus push, which is more uncommon. Interested to see which way StarDust is going to do this.
It's actually scouting out the right-hand side of this map as well, to either spot overlords or something like that.
Yeah.
I mean, just flying everywhere now. He knows that the Spore Crawlers have finished up, so he's not going to find too much wiggle room in those mineral lines.
What's StarDust going to do? Is he using Immortals?
I think he may do.
No, it's Robotics Bay.
Okay.
So this was the second option I thought we could see here. It could be used aggressive, and it could be also used defensive here. With such a fast Robotics Bay here, he's able to secure a very easily or much easily taken third base because the Colossus is simply faster. And a lot of Zerg timings, Zergling Roach, Zergling Hydra, don't work because of how fast that this Robotics Bay is. He could still be aggressive from this, as we know StarDust is quite likely to throw Nexus down and still be aggressive from it. But at the moment, it does look like he's just looking to secure that third base with pretty fast Robotics Bay.
Ling's a melee, Ling's an armor upgrade coming out for FireCake now. The fourth has been spotted as well by StarDust, with the Twilight Council being added on and Warp Prism coming out.
Yeah. And this is a very greedy game from FireCake as well. Like, just straight up to drones. High drone count straight away in this game.
Yeah.
No defensive units.
Well, he kind of had to play greedy right after his initial opener.
Yeah.
So that was a bit
he could have
crazy.
lost to a lot of different attacks, I think, by now. But he's okay. He's, by the way, planted a hatch in the middle there, which is kind of a middle reinforcement point that can do anything and kind of just out in the open, I guess. But it is double Zergling speed, double Zergling upgrades, and a Spire. Zergling Cropter, Zergling Mutalisk.
Phoenix might be able to spot that, actually. Oh, no, don't want to go in too far, apparently. If they start picking away at the workers on the gas geysers, then he could find that.
Circling Corruptor's pretty awesome, though, I think, in this position. If he was able to get a decent amount of Corruptors up. But yeah, the Colossus is already out here, which is going to stop a lot of these Lings.
They kept themselves a few probes, though, so that's a nice pickup.
Yeah, that was nice.
Positioned himself well there for that receival. And then now the Phoenix just still trying to find some drones in the middle. 14 workers gone down to these Phoenix, so a good job so far. And even find some loose overlords just slightly outside of the full defensive capabilities of that spore.
Ling's getting into this third again.
He's doing all right with these.
Yeah, he's doing good, but there is that Warp Prism threat still, remember. It's still lurking around down the bottom right.
Yeah. And actually, Zealots being sent down into this third base, there's really not too much to deal with a few Zerglings.
Yeah, this can do a lot, actually.
Yeah.
And then Warp Prism into the main as well.
1-1 upgrades. Quite nice. Oh, the Zerglings, though, react pretty fast. That was a good job there by FireCake. He only barely saw that on the edge of those creep with the Overlord positioning as well.
I'm interested to see if this Zergling Corrupt attack can work. It is a nice attack to do. Obviously, if the Corruptors bring down all the Colossus, then the Lings can hopefully, in an ideal world, clean up the rest.
Yeah. Well, it's gonna be attempted here in just a little bit. FireCake now is just kind of rocketing up in terms of those units. Of course, though, he does have 80 drones out right now, so his economy is pretty stable. And he actually thinks it's a pylon around here. He doesn't know it's a Warp Prism. He does now with this Overlord.
Now, yeah.
So.
Is StarDust ready to defend against the Ling Corruptor attack? Because once this Warp Prism's dealt with, and these Zealots have been dealt with, if +2 completes, I think StarDust is fine. But I'm a little bit worried for the Korean player here. I think this next attack could be very strong.
Yeah.
Very, very strong here from FireCake, especially with the Warp Prism gone.
And especially with the fact that it's not something he's like anticipating, right? I mean, obviously now he's seen the Corruptors and he saw the Spire, but it was always going to be about the Swarm hosts.
Yeah, and he's actually adding on Void Rays now to kind of help with the Phoenixes and help with protecting the Colossus, even double extra Stargates to help here. If he can actually get towards a decent Void Ray count and they can protect and help the Colossus will deal with the rest. But so far, no aggressive plans from FireCake, maybe just waiting for his 2-2 to complete. And then we do have the Infestation Pit. And he is sat on 4 bases, which is where if he wants to go to Swarm Host, this will probably commence very shortly here. But he may also decide to go up to Ultralisk as well. Also makes very, very much sense. It makes a lot of sense, actually, if he was to be able to combine his upgrades with Ultralisks. But let's see how this is going to go on. StarDust just needs to keep on surviving because he is, as time goes on, becoming stronger and stronger in the game, building a great army.
Yeah, it's looking pretty strong, especially with that +2 weapons just about to finish. Another Warp Prism in production with the triple Void Rays going. I mean, if he could hit before that Void Ray number actually rose pretty high, he'd be in great shape. But now that he's seen all the Corruptors in their position, he's trying to send out Zealots to do some counter-harassment, but it's not really working out too well just yet.
Yeah, FireCake, I think, is a very underestimated player. I think he's...
I agree.
He looked really good last season in his games versus MVP. I thought he could even beat MVP. And then this season, he started off a little bit rough in game 1 against. Apart from a couple of mistakes here, he is looking kind of solid.
And he's anticipating his opponent's moves well. I mean, he's going for pathogen glands instead of, enduring locusts. So he's just going for those fungals to lock down the rest of this army. And if you can keep chaining that on an army like this, then it's deadly.
Well, he's ideally, I would imagine, trying to aim towards getting up Ultralisks, which I think StarDust is probably starting to think about. I wouldn't be surprised to start seeing Immortals come into the mix soon.
And this is something that FireCake is very good at. It's controlling the map and taking full control of it everywhere. He sends out all these Overlords with pneumatized carapace. He just keeps going on. And this Warp Prism, I mean, we'll try and sneak around and we'll actually get pretty far.
I mean, FireCake's plan's pretty awesome right now. Just stop StarDust from taking a 4th, get to Ultralisk, then take a fight.
Yeah.
That's kind of his plan, I would imagine, for the time being. And even Banelings coming in, great addition. With Ultralisk smashing down force fields and stuff, if Banelings get in there, that's also pretty awesome, I think.
Yes,
but the Warp Prism is on the move.
Did get spotted for a second there.
And this is going to cause a headache from FireCake, and that will technically allow StarDust to take a 4th. So this is a big move from StarDust.
Yeah, he's bringing back all of the Zerglings to try and deal with this. This buys StarDust a little bit of time, though, to try and set up back at home, which is a nice little addition himself.
Ooh, and if StarDust buys enough time with this Warp Prism, he could snipe this 5th and then recall back out. which would be a nice double move there. Pull his opponent all the way to the bottom left and then pick off a hatch and get out. That is a nice move.
Yeah, did shut down a lot of the Phoenix down to the bottom right-hand corner. That's going to make the Vipers a little bit more free when it comes to actually moving around. Is he actually going to get this?
Yeah, he should. This should be his plan to get this, but he mustn't lose the Mothership core. He needs to recall out here.
Yeah, all the Zerglings are going for a big, big counter-attack onto that 4th base.
Yeah, this is actually kind of nice for both players. I mean, it's always good to pick off a hatch, but if he stops that Nexus from being built, that's also pretty good as well.
And Lings being everywhere in 3 locations at once is going to cause the recoil a little bit of a headache. He needs to defend multiple locations, but he's actually just not coming back. He really needs to do something about this.
Is he going to continue on? Maybe take another hatch and then get back? If his warpins are doing enough, then sure, but he's got to be careful to balance this out right.
Yeah, this cannon is an absolute hero. 20 kills on that cannon at the 3rd base, really holding on like a champ. Very difficult for the Lings to get in there. Now he's ransacking the 3rd.
Remember, these Void Rays are almost unanswered for. There's only a handful of Hydras and Corruptors here.
Yeah.
And this is quite a lot of Void Rays. Okay, it does recall out. Warp Prism's still there, though, on the left-hand side. Can't believe that.
Yeah, it hasn't really been dealt with. Where were the Corruptors all the while?
They're there.
With the army.
But it's still 3-base Protoss with all these upgrades kicking in. Look at all those upgrades for FireCake.
Yummy.
It is very good. And he's got a good mix of units too. Lots of Zerglings, which with good upgrades are good here. Very good. You've got Ultralists, which are going to deal a lot and tank a lot of damage. And then you've got Hydralists just, hitting away from the back. With a good mix of Fungals, potentially. He's got a couple of... Oh, no, he hasn't got any, sorry. So a good mix of Vipers for Blinding Cloud. Maybe a couple of Ducks here and there. And then Corruptors. It's a good army that he's got currently.
StarDust trying to set himself up on the 3rd base with the defenses. They will hold for now against those Zerglings, but once the entire army comes crashing through, it may be questionable.
The #1 unit for StarDust is Void Rays. The Storms have to help out the Void Rays here. The Storms need to land on the Hydralisks. Otherwise, they will deal a lot. Corruptors, no problem. No problem. Charge up those Void Rays, you'll kill the Corruptors, but mustn't allow the Hydralisk to get a lot of damage done.
7 cannons being added on to try and pick up a 4th base. He absolutely needs a 4th base. Uh-oh, Banelings are going to break through here.
Yeah, that's a nice move here. Very nice move.
Didn't know anything about it up until the point where it actually crashes on through. And a little bit of mess control there. Decides to go around the corner. But that could have been broken up much quicker.
Yeah, it's a waste of resources, unfortunately. Waste of resources.
But
I think FireCake's going to take a fight soon, because remember, this kind of composition he's building does get weaker over time if Protoss is able to start to mold his own composition around yours. So ideally, I'm pretty sure FireCake would want to fight soon, especially at 200 supply.
Yeah. And you know what's actually quite cool is that with all these Void Rays on follow, it's really hard to distinguish how many Void Rays he actually has.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah, I mean, it's 13 that we can see, but for FireCake, like...
It's only 15 Hydras and 10 Corruptors.
Yeah.
You've got to really put the emphasis on stopping the Void Rays here, otherwise they're going to stop everything.
He sees the army's positioning now. More Zergling is going to try and push up to the
Catch 2 High Templar, no Storms down. 2 full energy High Templar were gone there.
Was that?
You caught them on camera. They were just at the 3rd where the Lings were.
Oh, did I?
Yes, you did.
Sick. Didn't even notice.
All right. Here's the fight that FireCake wants. Needs to pull out the big units here. If you can pull out the Void Rays, the big units for me are the Void Rays.
There's a few High Templars here as well. They do not want to die so quickly, but they got caught between some Ultralist Blades and have to move on back from there.
All right. Here's a fight. He's got to take this very cautiously here, StarDust.
Oh, a lot of the Banelings at the front actually die off very quickly too. Those Colossi, 2 Archons also soaked up a bit of damage, but these Ultralists...
Yeah, it's very weak here for FireCake.
Yeah, how are you supposed to deal with these Void Rays? I mean, the Ultralists might get the job done, but I don't even think...
Can he save it? I think he'll save it. I think he'll save it.
Oh, it's going to be close. Oh, one last sweep.
He could have saved it. I really think he could have saved it there.
If he'd have been more proactive about getting those Void Rays in the right location,
27 Hydralisks. And to be honest, I think he should have already started the +1 attack for them because he's completed with his melee upgrades. Hydralisks are so important here. Oh, nice move by StarDust.
Yeah.
Dark Templars getting in, and that's going to really hurt the economy of FireCake. I know he's got a lot of money banked, but he's also going to have to rebuild an army again soon. Yeah,
this army's really, really strong, though, for StarDust.
Yeah.
This could do a lot of damage. He has, what, 26 Hydralisks? How are they supposed to really compete with that? They need to kill off the Colossi super fast.
So the way that he's going to do this is he has to abduct the Colossus this time. So he needs to get rid of the Colossus, bring him into the Corruptors, and then allow the Hydralisk to do the damage. But then he also has to still evade Storms to have a good fight. Then obviously StarDust has to do everything in opposite of what I just said. Not get the Colossus abducted. Make sure to land the Storms on the Hydralisk, because they are big damage dealers here. An interesting choice for FireCake. Cross positions. Isn't going to play Swarmos. We expected Swarmos today, but he's playing a different style, a good style, but his economy is limited. And StarDust, who is going to re-establish that 4th base, will have an income again. And he has a very scary army.
He did get pathogen glands all the while before. Do you think some infestors actually mixed into this army could really kind of pack a punch?
I think it's almost a waste of energy. What are they going to do? Lock down an army that's going to kill you while they're locked down?
That's true.
I mean, I think he just kind of needs to dissect the army and then pick it off piece by piece rather than try to take a big fight altogether. Because that's what I think StarDust wants.
All right, well, StarDust is certainly just kind of gearing up for the defense of this 4th base. He needs to establish this himself if he wants to feel comfortable going on to the later stages.
Yeah, there's so many Storms, though.
Yeah.
The Hydralisks are the things to stop the Void Rays, but I just don't see the Hydralisks stopping the Void Rays. They have to, but it's going to be very difficult, I think.
He may end up taking an engagement very, very soon. Oh, he catches some of those Hydras.
They do not want to get hit by Storms, trust me.
There's still so many left. He actually can't deal with that. He has to run away unless he wants to try and abduct some of these.
Oh, nice Storm again at the end, catching a lot.
Wow, that's a lot of damage.
StarDust has a very good army here. I can't see how FireCake is going to be able to get the job done. He does have that 5th base up and running down on the bottom right, which is nice, keeping his income nice and high. There could be a potential Mueller switch in this game that could work for him. He may decide to go over to Broodlords. I think he's got the Great Spire down. There could be some weird Swarmos switch. But he needs a good fight. He has to take a good fight. If he loses everything without killing much of StarDust, the game is almost over, despite that income. Or the bank, sorry.
StarDust's playing this game out long, and it's playing out well for him in terms of his army comp, that's for sure. 15 Void Rays in with this. A Desperation Storm there to try and save the High Templars from the Ultras. Does push them away in the end.
Doesn't want to waste the Storms, remember. So crucial.
Yeah, and he might be able to land them in just a little bit. There's some blinding clouds on a bit of the army, but there's nothing in them. The Void Rays are absolutely shredding up everything.
Yeah, and the Colossus go untouched.
Oh, dear me.
Absolutely annihilation. StarDust almost lost, well, I mean, nothing. He probably didn't really lose anything there. 37 Hydralisks and 3 Ultralisks. Not the best of remaxes here, because these are not going to be stopped.
You can't let StarDust get to this comp.
Yeah.
It's so powerful.
Especially with the composition that FireCake is playing with. He should have tried to end the game with fights earlier, but you've got to congratulate StarDust on surviving a lot of the time and building up to this army. Protoss usually can always build to the ultimate army in counter to what Zerg has, given the right time and money.
A little bit of a counterattack, but those cannons will fend that off. And then as that goes on, the death squad of StarDust just keeps on plowing forward. There's a bit of harassment down to the bottom right as well. There's a lot of spines down there, so should be fended off. But StarDust's almost at the heart of his opponent's base.
Yeah, and I don't think this composition, it just doesn't work right now. No matter what FireCake tries, it doesn't work. Even if he switches up completely, doesn't really have upgrades for air, doesn't really have upgrades for the swarm host. So he has to stick on what he's been using, which doesn't work anymore. There is an army which stops it, clear and simple, as we just saw. StarDust, without HUD losing anything, demolished that type of army. And he can only do it again, which means StarDust will only take another winning fight here. FireCake's first game is nearing an end here, and it looks like he's going to continue his unwinnable streak of 10 map losses in a row now. Yeah,
it's pretty brutal for him. And StarDust from here, I mean, having retained this Mothership core all the while, he just has the perfect defensive capabilities as well. If he'd have seen an army coming, he could have recalled home, but he knows for the most part he's killed off so many of his opponent's strong mining bases.
Yeah. I mean, right now, the way that FireCake has to do this is he has to bring the Colossus into the Hydralisk and into the Ultralisks. Hopefully they die off fast, and then maybe the Hydralisk can deal the damage to everything else. But, as you can see, the Void Rays alone could probably fight the Hydralisks. They don't have the best of upgrades, and then, of course, you've got all these Storms available.
Yeah.
And they are not nice.
No, they're not. The Observer spots the opponent's army's movement, and, I mean, StarDust can happily just chase this down. With the army he has, it's such a strong, efficient army here. And unfortunately for FireCake, these Ultras, they just really don't pack the punch against it.
No, they don't. And StarDust looking to extend his incredible winning record against Zerg. If he wins this next map, which he's looking like he will, 21 wins and 3 losses. Absolutely insane.
Yeah, it's so powerful. I mean, there's a really good arc here for FireCake, who looks to try and take the final engagement.
Yeah. His best chances now. This is it.
Yeah, storms preemptively to try and catch those Banelings, and actually they catch a lot of the High Templars in the middle, but it doesn't really matter. There's so many Void Rays and the Colossi still alive that even with the Hydralisk killing off a lot of the Void Rays and the Ultralisk getting on top of those Colossi, the Void Rays still survive.
So, to all credit to FireCake there, that was a very good fight.
Yeah, the best
very
could
good
have
fight.
taken.
Blinding Clouds in the right areas, a decent art, the Banelings getting damage. Overall, that was what he would have liked to achieve a lot earlier on, because that was a good fight. But unfortunately for him, as mentioned, even the Void Rays could take on the Hydralisk just with a bit of extra support from a couple of Storms and Colossus Rays. And now, without the money, because he's been stopped multiple times from mining, he's finding this hard to keep up. His units currently 5 Hydralisks, 5 Corruptors, 3 Infestors.
Yeah,
not going to be stopped.
The bank's pretty much reversed now from what we saw prior. It's a lot of money saved up here for StarDust, who has his 4th base uncontested. So that gas will just fuel a little bit more, and then when he's ready, he'll go for it. It's Infestors now for FireCake, which are the desperation mode, but it's going to be difficult.
Yeah, and FireCake, who enters a series against Protoss, doesn't use a single Swarm host in this series, playing a very different game and showing a very different FireCake today. And I think everybody who's watching was probably expecting long and boring games, but these 2 games have been good, they've been fun, they've been shorter than we expected. But it looks like StarDust, who is currently playing from Korea, is going to be able to jump into the next stage of this tournament. 150 supply to 70, and as mentioned, an unstoppable army currently.
Yeah, it's going to be difficult. It's 106 against 44.
5 Hydralists, 6 Corruptors. The count's gone up by 1 each. Oh. And there's half of his army gone.
Those 3 Hydras, bye.
He's now down to 0 Hydras. So 6 Corruptors and 7 Infestors. Not a lot left.
Yeah, certainly. This is difficult. FireCake, for all intents and purposes, I feel in game number 1 was wanting to get to the Swarm hosts, but was just never given the chance to. While StarDust here in game number 2 still takes full command of things. He is the commander of this group, and right now, unfortunately for FireCake, it's a slow and painful death.
It is a very slow and painful death, and StarDust is just going to come end the game now. He's up to a decent army supply. FireCake is thinking the only way is if he was to be able to build a million spine crawlers, and StarDust was fighting to them. Maybe he could do it by the looks of it, but that's not really going to help him too much either here. There's too much in the air. There are Colossus in support. StarDust is just playing this cautiously, though. Doesn't want to have to play a 3rd game against a player who is playing better than expected, let's say. Yep. But look at that army. That's not going to get stopped anytime today, is it?
Not at all, especially since he's on like 3-2-1 upgrades across his ground, and that also complements the air with the 3-2. So for now, I mean, he's trying to pressure this base, and he actually got some good blinding clouds onto these cannons, but he's lost the majority of his mining everywhere else.
Time to go kill the Zerg.
Yeah. Need to eradicate the bugs, man. Starship Trooper style.
And this is a very good start for StarDust, who definitely had his group line or group life on the line today. Definitely. Despite being a clear favorite on paper, playing from Korea is not easy. And looks like here we are going to have a fight. A couple of Fungals are going to try and hold these units in place. So the Spine Crawlers, Static D, can win everything for you.
Get the brain bugs. That's what the Zealot wants. Storms onto the infested Terrans as well. There you go. GG. StarDust takes the series 2-0 and looks to solidify his place in this round of 32.
All he needs to do today for StarDust to be over the moon will be just advancing from this group so he can join San and others in the round of 16, where they are going to be very happy to kill everybody that is present.
Yeah, so good games there from him to start off the day here in Group E. And now that means we're moving swiftly on to our 2nd series of the day, as we see a new face in WCS Europe going to be playing.
A player rising and an unfortunate player falling.
Yeah, okay, so join us after the break, guys, when we have First versus Baby Night to see who advances on to the winners match.